Hello, welcome to day 3 of Project Zomboid. In this series, we've been covering how to survive your first week. Now, as of to now, we've gone through combat, basic strategies, POIs, etc. We looted the school last time, and of course, we've gotten some skills. We started on reading our skill book, but we really wanted to focus on the gains. Typically, you'll want to go ahead and get some food out of the refrigerator and make sure that your character is well taken care of. After finishing reading the skill book, you will get a multiplier to the skill points associated with performing the action. For us, in this example, we're doing foraging. And by collecting one foraging item after the bonuses, we can potentially get a full level. Remember, the Darius Chambers here is a park ranger, so leaning into our skills associated with foraging, we should see if we can get the most out of the day in order to build that skill as much as possible with the multiplier. As we move closer to noon, I want to start making my way back to the house so I can catch Woodcraft on the TV. While Woodcut is going, you're able to read your skill book, and you'll notice exactly how big of a multiplier you have if you hover over the skill bar associated to the skill book that you're currently reading. Take quick note of the fact that your skill multiplier will increase with the amount of pages that you read. So by the time that you finish reading a book, you can have, in this particular case, up to a multiplier of 8 times. Whereas in various other books, it might be a multiplier of 3 times. It simply depends on the level that you're at. So working towards foraging level 6 next, when we finish up, we'll go outside and complete that task. I have personally found that this build as a park ranger, plus all the traits that we covered in the first episode, allows us to max our foraging skill within about 3 to 4 days, as you can see with this massive XP bonus with 1 leak. Now, we've covered an entire day in about 5 minutes, and that's primarily due to the fact that, in all honesty, when you start reading skill books, especially as a slow reader, it's going to eat up time in your day. And that is not a bad thing, because there are many days left in your survival experience. So, let's move on to day 4. So day 4 is going to be a little different. Every Project Zomboid player, no matter if you're doing a short playthrough or a long playthrough, needs to do supply runs as often as possible. We've recently stayed within the neighborhood, or rather the outskirts of Rosewood's neighborhoods. Today, we're going to start venturing into town. You'll notice that the forging skill is also capable of finding weapons, like a rake, something that you wouldn't expect, but it can be very effective in a fight. Never gonna have too many weapons. I ain't gonna front. I messed up. I thought I'd make it to the zombie before he lunged at me, but this is actually a good example of dealing with lunges. When a zombie knocks you over, it is absolutely possible for you to scratch yourself, and or if there are more zombies around, you could very well likely die. So I would call this a mistake, but we kind of survived the scenario. So as you can see on screen, when you have a scratched hand, swing speed is going to be impacted. So even though we just dealt with one zombie, fighting hordes, groups, etc. is not going to work out very well for us. As an alternative to fighting, you can just outwalk zombies. So sometimes it's easier to outpace them than it is to fight them. One of my favorite things to say on stream: don't freak out. Keep your wits about you. Walk through the town, do a couple of zigzags, jump over some fences, move behind a few of the houses, and then back in front. Make the zombies work for their meal. A quick note: you'll notice that I'm not actually going inside of any of these houses while moving around and trying to shake off the zombies. One major reason for that is because the possibility of an alarm going off, and I would hate for an alarm to attract more zombies when I'm trying to get away from other zombies. It's my personal preference. Some people don't care. It's up to you. Welcome to downtown Rosewood. Now, even though we can't fight hordes, onesie-twosies might work out for us. It's going to be almost impossible to go without having to fight. I mean, you can still move about and drag zombies around, etc. to loot. However, I do like to get prepared for a battle. Alright, 2 zombies. Perfect. We said before onesie-twosie will work for us just fine. I'll always choose your location. I do have a wall to my back here. There is a dead body on the floor. However, I'm not worried about that guy. What happened here? I legitimately had a problem with my keyboard connecting for some odd reason, and I got bit 3 different times. Let's look at how bad it might be.
Where you been?
Alright, 2 scratches and a laceration. It's not that bad. Realistically speaking, there's a timer associated with whether or not we're infected, but
Are you bitten?
I love that movie. Nevertheless, you have to recognize that without being bitten, there's probably a good chance that your run isn't over. So for those of you who don't read the wiki, a scratch has a 7% probability for infection, whereas a laceration has a 25% chance for infection. And then finally, a bite, which is absolutely guaranteed at 100%. These probabilities are determined immediately upon being injured by a zombie, not from falling over from a fence or tripping or something like that. So if you're infected at that moment, and there's a timer that starts. Within 1 to 4 hours, you will become anxious. Now, for those of you who play with smoker or other style traits that give you anxiety, a lot of people can't pay attention to the anxious moodlet. So, within the next 5 to 12 hours, you'll find the queasy moodlet, which at that moment you know for sure that you are going to be zombified. Of course, there are caveats. There are ways to get queasy moodlet from your actions, like sleeping on top of bodies for some reason, or eating bad food. Between 13 and 24 hours, you will become nauseous. And then finally, at 25 to 48 hours, you'll be sick. And then fever, and finally, death and zombification. Around 3 days or 72 hours, you will become a zombie from being infected. Now, recognize that the game isn't over yet. Project Zomboid has a mechanic to where when you die, you can spawn back into the world that you've started and go find your zombie self, kill it, and take all your stuff. Reclaim your base, and then, of course, start over with your skills. So it's been 2 hours since we were first scratched and lacerated. At this point, I'm fairly certain we won't be facing any zombification, no matter what traits you have. So let's go ahead and apply those wonderful advanced first aid skills that we know about, such as using our sterilized rags and tend to our arms. Considering both of our arms are in a bad place, we won't be going out and fighting very often. However, we still have plenty of resources and books that we can read and work on during this time. So rest up and stay safe. Taking advantage of the time, not to mention the fact that we are going to be home written for a while. We should read the next skill book associated to the foraging skills. That's our primary skill for our character in this playthrough. I'd also like to highlight that we are on day 4. Day 5 and on has the possibility of spawning the helicopter event. And I will tell you right now, we're not ready, at least not with these wounds. I want to do everything I can to recover as fast as possible. There is no actual way to decrease the healing time associated with a wound. However, you can increase it from infection and not tending to your wounds properly. Thus, keeping with the trend, you'll notice that I've kept open my health page this entire time to ensure when my bandages turn bloody or dirty, I'm able to immediately respond by replacing them. closing up these 2 days that we spent together, it's been nearly 12 hours since we were scratched and lacerated. So, based on the data that I spoke to before, we haven't seen the anxious or queasy move at this point. I'm going to say that we are not infected. Keeping our constant schedule to make sure that we align with life and living, we're going to be heading to bed now. However, note that when you are in pain, it is actually difficult to sleep. You have two options in this case: reduce the pain or make yourself ridiculously tired. With sleeping pills, alcohol, black sage, and many other items in game, you can manage many of these particular aspects. And with that, we head to bed. Thank you for tuning in. I know I was a little late and I combined 2 days because of that, but we do have some weather in the area I'm at right now. So if you watched to this point, please give me a like, comment, subscribe as usual, the YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.